Hi guys, I hope you're good and excited about starting this new topic, which is factorization. And what you'll be doing today is factorizing using the common factor method. Okay, so we'll be taking out the common factor in different problems that we'll be encountering later on. However, I want to now take you into the first part of our lesson, which is the introduction. So the first part of our lesson now looks into making sure that you understand what are you actually doing whenever we say factorize. So factorization is the opposite process of expanding brackets. So if you can look back into the lessons that we've had in our first module on algebra, and that's when we're simplifying, that is we were doing actually the exact opposite of factorization. So what we did today, we were simplifying. However, on this one we are now bringing back brackets. Okay, so let's see how it's actually done. So for example, expanding a bracket will require 2 multiplied by x plus 1 to be written as 2x plus 2. So this means that you've multiplied 2, means you've multiplied 2 and x, and also multiplied 2 and 1. That is why you have 2x plus 2. And factorization would be to start with 2x plus 2 and end up with 2 and a bracket of x plus 1. So as you see from the diagram that I have underneath there, so it means factorizing, or the process of factorization, it means we are moving from the part where you don't have brackets to the part where now you need to have brackets. While expanding is actually the opposite, where you have to distribute every value that you get and ensure that you have values without brackets. Okay, so that is how this whole concept of factorization work. So it means they have a very close relationship, these two things. Okay, so now let's see what now the common factor factorization is. So factorizing based on common factors relies on there being common factors to all terms. So as the word says, common, so it means we need to have something common both sides. Okay, and for example, if you have 2x minus 6x squared, this is how I would expect us to write it. So if I have 2x minus 6x squared, I would expect it to be written in the form of 2x minus, okay, let me just write that properly. So it should be in the form of 2x, you open the bracket and have 1, minus 3x. So yes, it sounds a bit confusing. How do you actually get to those values and all that, right? That's a beautiful question. So I'm going to guide you and I'll show you something special now. So guys, if you multiply back, so let's just think the question was not there and we are trying to multiply back these values. If I multiply 2x and 1, what do I get? I'm going to be left with 2x. If I multiply 2x and negative 3, I'll be left with minus 6x squared. So the good question now is, how did I manage to predict that I will get the question as it was given? So I'll write it for you on the side. How do you get common factors? Okay, so the first rule is you need to find the HCF. Finding the HCF, it means you're finding the highest common factor. So the highest value that can be in both sides. What is that value? So once you find that value, you write it outside. So I found the highest common factor there to be 2x. Why did I do that? I did that because, let me just clean up here so that you can also follow the rules, okay? I did that because I saw that if I have 2x minus 6x to the power of 2, the highest number that can go into 2 and 6 at the same time is 2. And the highest value that can go both x and x squared, from this side I can only take out a maximum of only one x because it's x to the power of 1 if it's like that, whilst on the other side I have two x's. So x to the power of 2 is not common, but x to the power of 1, at least from this side I can have one x, and also from that side I can take out at least one x. That's why I wrote 2x outside. Now the second part, as the second rule, you write the bracket. So that's when you bring in your brackets, okay? So if you bring in your bracket, so you open your first bracket, you take this value that you took out as the common factor, you divide it back. So if I divide 2x and 2x, I'm left with 1. And again, if I could divide 2x, if I divide this by 2x, I'm going to be left with 3x to the power of 1. So that is why I said I've given you the answer in this form, 1 minus 3x. And always, number 3, try to expand. So the reason why I suggest that you try to expand back is that you will be able to see if you will get this question that you've started with. So if your expansion is correct, it means your factorization is correct. Do you get it? So once you manage to expand it back to where you started, then your factorization is correct. So please note, the question says factorize, it didn't say expand. It's something that you're just going to write on the side just to check if you have the correct answers, okay? So let's be more practical and give you questions that you may get on any exam or any test using the common factor method. So our first example says factorize. And as you can see there, you just have two terms and you need to find the highest common factor first. So if I'm looking for the highest common factor of 4 and 2, the highest number that can divide 4 and 2 at the same time is 2 itself. So I'm going to write 2 outside, okay? And I still look for other common factors. Do I have f both sides? No. If I do not have f both sides, it means it's not a common factor at all. It's not a common value that appears, okay? But I see that I have that letter s and s also that side, so I need to write it down. So I have 2s there, and I open the bracket if I'm done checking for all my common factors. Now if I divide 2 and 4, what is left? You are left with 2. If I divide s and s, it goes away, so it's just that's a 1. But then I have f left. Remember, it was not a common factor, so it has to come back to wherever it started. Plus, if you remove 2s completely, remember this is 2s outside. So what is left? If you divide 2s and 2s, you are left with 1. So that is how you factorize using the common factor method. And as I've said on the side, just to check, okay, just to check if your answer is fine, you need to write it down to s. So you write your factorized value to f plus 1. You multiply the first term, the term outside with the first term, you're going to get 2, you're going to get 4fs. And you multiply again with the second value, you're going to get plus 2s. And as you can see, this is what we started with there. So it means your factorization is super correct. Okay, so guys, that is how you do it. It's quite simple. Take your time, try to practice. So I'll be giving you another example now, and I want to see if you're gonna get it right. So just pause the video after I've given you the question and come back for corrections. So Worked example number 2. It says factorize 12kj plus 18kq. So we need to try to factorize those two values. And guys, I will emphasize this. When you're factorizing using common factors, the HCF is a golden rule. Your highest common factor. Okay. So if you have 12 and 18, what is the highest value that you can get out of those numbers? Or what is the number that the highest number that you can use to divide these two numbers without leaving a remainder? And that number, guys, is 6. So if you divide 6 by 12, you get a 2, and if you divide 6 by 18, you get a 3. So that is the highest common factor between the two. However, let's now look whether I have another value that is common both sides. So do I have k both sides? Yes, I have k this side, I have k that side. So I take it out as also a common factor. Do I have j both sides? No, I don't have j, I don't have q. So j and q, they are not our common factors. Now, if you take out 6 from 12, what are you left with? So if you divide 6 and 12, you're going to be left with 2. And it's not just 2 that is left, because j was left without a partner. So j has to come back to exactly that position. And then this is going to be plus, what is 18 divided by 6? 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. And k is out, you are left with q, because q didn't have a partner. So guys, this is how you simply get your 3 marks or your 2 marks depending on your paper of how to find factors using the common factor method. Okay, so this is also one of the easy ways to do it. And remember, I said try to check if you are going to get back the question. The instructions are very clear. They say factorize. That is why I said you write it on a separate piece of paper to check if you have the right answer. This is what the examiners want. That's it. The part of checking is just you trying to ensure that you have the right answers. Okay, it's not, you're not supposed to write it on your exam paper. Please, I will emphasize that to you. Okay, don't write it on your exam sheet. Just write it somewhere else just to check if you managed to factorize correctly, and you will get your free 2 marks or 3 marks that will be given there. And now lastly, I have one more example. You can try to pause the video for this one. It looks huge, but it's quite simple. Now, this is how you do it, guys. As you can see, it seems like a problem now because you have many things. But if you can open your eyes properly and try to focus more on this, you will see that you have 2 minus a as a bracket, and you also have 2 minus a as a bracket. That simply means you have for yourself the HCF, the highest common factor. And what does the rule say? It says take out the highest common factor. So if I take out the highest common factor, it means I'm taking out the whole bracket of 2 minus a. And I should open another bracket for whatever that is left. So I will have left 5, since this one is gone. And what else is left? You are left with minus b if this whole thing is gone out there. So you are going to write this as minus b. And you are done there, guys. We usually give around 3 to 4 marks on these problems because now this one was a bit different, right? And what you needed to do is to observe. So you had to study what you're given, and you saw that the whole bracket is actually a common factor both sides. So you simply take out the whole bracket and open another bracket for whatever is left. Okay, so that is how, guys, you factorize using the highest common factors. And please, guys, go back to these questions, keep on practicing, open your books, keep on googling for different factorization questions, and trust me, you will get amazing questions. And go back to this video if you're going to be struggling with a few things. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's lesson, and I enjoyed having you, and I will see you on the next one.